I greeted you with this word, aloha. Alright, well, some of you might be thinking in the context of maybe a luau or a party, and a lot of us hear it, probably knowing from Hawaii. But whatever it is that you're thinking, I can guarantee you that it's a word that's hardly taken negatively. My informative speech is not just about this word, but to understand that it's a part of a culture, it's a part of a state of being, kind of like shalom in the Hebrew culture. And it means more than how we say it and what it's said. Just for my informative speech, I'm just going to be sharing, living in Hawaii, I'm just going to be sharing just kind of 3 different levels of how this word is taken and received and taken by other people, I guess you can say. The first one, as we all know, it is a form of greeting one another, welcoming each other. And it's something used all over Hawaii. I think living in Hawaii for almost just about 20 years, you can see how it's powered by our tourist industry, and the economy in Hawaii is really run by the tourist industry. Without it, it wouldn't be able to thrive. But it's more of an invitation. You've been invited, and now it's time to be welcomed in to where you are, wherever, if you're experienced at a party. And now you're part of the family, or you're able to take part of the blessing as been shared. The second part of what aloha means, it also means being part of a bigger family. It encompasses everything that you do in life, how you treat each other. It's an attitude, how you're working with each other. All these things come into play when you're in family, and you can probably ask Sean as well. For some people that grew up in Hawaii, it's something that you live out. It's not something that you just say to each other. It's something that you mean. And I think for just learning this word, you can see that language is very important in how we interact with one another, and it's important that we understand what we mean by our words. So this is the second level. A lot of information on this is not easy to find, even if you do live in Hawaii. A lot of people learn from different teachers in the native Hawaiian community, and it's hard to kind of filter out things, knowing that people are not trying to sell you something with the word. But it is definitely a bigger part and represents a bigger culture of who you are. And some of the authors that I found that wrote about this word have shared this one character code, or I guess you can say an acronym of what aloha really means. I'm not going to read all that, you can look for yourself. But you can see in the words that are described in each letter how important that is to the people, how important it is to be patient, to be authentic, to be real, to treat each other in humility, and you'll see an overall theme of God as well from the influence of missionaries. But even before that, there is some kind of recognition of how we act towards each other through our beliefs and how we're treating one another. So it's almost this attitude of being a real family and not just on the surface level. The last level I like to share is the spiritual meaning. This is something that's actually my favorite part. A lot of people translate the meaning in a spiritual way as joyfully sharing or being together in harmony with others and with God. Excuse me, sorry. I was in my teaching program. I learned the breakdown of the meaning, which is actually a 2-part of the word, and I was taught this by my professor, who wrote a book on actually the aloha spirit. And when you break down the word, there's actually 2 meanings. And the first is alo, and that's your spiritual presence. I mean, your life force, your presence, which is later translated as God's presence. And you have ha, which stands for the breath of life. So when you put that together, you get the presence of God is the breath of life. And so when you're saying aloha, you're sharing in the culture, you're sharing in that life that God has given you.